Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out a variant that I created for Deep Rock Galactic, the board game. So I love cooperative games, and I prefer cooperative games. That being said, some people have asked, can you DM this game? And I'm thinking to myself, well, I think you can. And in theory, you could draw cards from the event deck and pick which ones to do. I'm like, there's got to be more decisions that would be available to the DM. So what I did is I created an action point system where the DM will get so many action points per turn to do various things. So I tested it out via one playthrough and actually worked out pretty well, but I have to stress this is a variant. This is something I created. It is not perfectly balanced, but hopefully it'll give you the tools that you need and at least some ideas on how to create your own little DM game if you so choose to. So I'm going to quickly show you this document. Now, what I did was I uploaded this PDF into its own workshop mod. I'll put a link to that in the below description. You can save this PDF as an object and then import it into the official mod. So you can have this as a reference should you need it. Again, it's not pretty. I'm not being paid to do this, so I'm not going to sit here and spend all day doing this. I tried to make this variant as simple as possible so as not to be too confusing and to be standoffish and, to put people off. I like it simple, but I also like, effective. So, as part of setup, one player assumes the role of the creatures and the other players form the team of dwarves. No event or swarm deck is used. None. Don't even worry about the event or swarm deck. During gameplay, player turns are played as normal, with the DM taking their turn in place of the event deck. So as is typical with DRG, at least the board game, when a player finishes their turn, they draw a card from the event deck. In this case, the DM just simply takes their turn. They can target whoever they want. They don't have to target the closest dwarf. It's up to them. It's a free choice. The DM will also take their turn even if another dwarf reaches the pod near the game's end. That's one big difference. Let me go ahead and set up level 1 here. But whenever, at the end of the game, when a dwarf makes their way out, typically no event card would be drawn at that point in time. I decided, you know what, let's give the DM one last chance to actually possibly take out another dwarf. I don't know. So the DM will still get a turn even if one of the dwarves makes it to the pod. Okay, so that's one of the minor changes that I added to this. So I'm going to take you through an example couple of turns just so you can see it. I'm not going to take you through an entire game because that would take probably half an hour to an hour to do, but I played it once on this and it was actually quite good. So the player is going to take their turn as normal. They get 3 action points. Let's just pretend I'm the engineer. 1, 2, let's go ahead and flip that over. It's a loot bug. 3. And then for my second action, I will do a primary attack on this cluster here. I didn't even pick a secondary weapon. I'll just do something like that. And sure, why not? The burst gun. I'm just picking whatever's first available at this point. So my grenade launcher can, with 1 ammo, I can roll 1 red die and take out, I could do 1 damage to an area of effect. So I'm going to target this creature here and do an area of effect in this little triangle here. So I'm going to roll 1 die, use an ammo and roll a die. I should probably have set this up beforehand, but whatever. So I'm just going to roll that die there. And it's 2 damage. Okay, boom. So 2 damage to each of those spaces. So that's dead. And then 1 more. So let's just do a pickaxe action and try and loot that loot bug. So we'll roll the pickaxe die down there. And it's a double mine, which is great. So this is gone. And I get a gold. Where is the bags for that? There's gold there. Great. So I get a gold, and then I roll the loot bug die and see if I get anything from that. Nothing, of course. Okay, and then I loot the stalagmite. The stalagmite is slightly different. So let's go ahead and... Where is that loot die at? There we go. We don't get anything automatically from that, but that is a nitra. So I'm just going to take a nitra from that bag up there. And do that. Okay. So not a bad first turn. We moved, we shoot, and we looted some stuff. And now the DM is going to take their turn. So again, they get 3 action points to spend on their turn. They can, for 2 action points, progress the advance. They could advance the threat. On the very bottom, there's a threat meter, and you're limited to once per turn on that. 1 point to spawn 2 grunts, and you can spawn them at the same spawn point or on different spawners. 2 points to spawn one of anything from the grunt side of the monster board. So pretty much 2 points to spawn a web spitter, an exploder, a Mactera spawn, or a slasher. You get to choose as the DM which it is. Keep in mind, some creatures are typically maybe more powerful than others, so, you know, just be nice to your fellow players, you know, have fun with it. Also, the goo from above board, 2 points to spawn anything from that. And then 3 points to spawn one of anything from the Brood Nexus side of the monster board. The Brood Nexus side of the board is the more nasty side. That's your Brood Nexus, Spitball, Infector, Praetorian, Oppressor, and Warden. So you're pretty much using your entire turn to just spawn one of those things. However, there are some limitations. You can only call each of these creatures once per game, and you cannot summon another of these creatures until the threat marker has passed the next swarm phase. So, and you're also limited. You can't spawn any of these large creatures in the first spawn section here. Once the first swarm is over, you can call one of those creatures, but you cannot call another one of those creatures until the threat marker reaches once this second threat is done. So once the second threat is done, then you're free to spawn another one of those creatures, but not one of the same ones that you've already spawned. So that way you're not spawning an Oppressor and a Praetorian all at once. You're forced to stagger that out. And just as a reminder, like I said, you cannot spawn any of those creatures here. You have to wait until the first spawn is, swarm is over. Once the first swarm is over, you can spawn one of those creatures. And then you cannot spawn another one until the next one has passed, until the next swarm has passed. So you're limited to one large creature like that per swarm event. Okay, so that's what that's all about. I try to balance it as best as I could. And optional, Oppressors can only be spawned after the 3rd or 4th swarm icon. So again, this is more of a DM thing. Oppressors, you know, maybe as the DM, maybe don't spawn them until here or here when players have had a chance to get some upgrade tokens or whatever the case may be. Again, it's DM's choice. I'm just trying to give them some ideas. 1 point to move all creatures, but no attacking. So it's a way of like activating them, but without attacking. So if you want to move creatures around, you can. You're limited once per turn, and this automatically ends the DM turn. This is kind of like a thing that you could do. Let's say I don't have enough points to spawn what I want to spawn, but I have 1 point left and I don't know what to do with it. Well, at least you can move stuff around for a little bit. Or you can spend 3 points to activate all creatures, which is move and attack. Limit once per turn, and this automatically ends the DM turn. And you're like, well, if you're only getting 3 action points per turn, duh, it automatically ends your turn, right? Well, I've added some extra things in here to give the DM possibly more things. I'm going to skip down to this bonus action point section, and that says the DM can, at the end of their turn, award good things to the dwarves in order to get extra points to use for their next turn. Only. They can only choose one of the below per turn. So at the end of a DM turn, they can give, say, the dwarves 1 free nitra or gold, and that is added to the dwarf supply, and they get another point to use for their next turn. So instead of 3 action points, they get 4 action points for their next turn only. For 2 points for their next turn, the dwarf team receives 3 ammo tokens of their choice. The dwarf team chooses what tokens they are and who receives them. So basically, the DM is handing out free ammo, but they get 2 extra points to use for their next turn. And then lastly, the dwarf team receives a free weapon upgrade. The dwarf team chooses who receives it. Not an overclock, just a weapon upgrade. And they get the DM gets 3 points to use for their next turn. I don't know how balanced that is. Please test it out and let me know. Getting back to the top of that sheet, the swarm DM turn. So when the threat marker advances to the swarm icon, the DM gets another free turn, although it immediately ends their current turn. And the reason for that is just to, I guess, prevent any sort of like, you know, sneaky juking, I guess. But whenever this reaches here or another swarm icon, it immediately ends the DM's current turn, but they do get another free turn. They get 3 action points to spawn new creatures for that turn only, for that swarm phase, and get a free action to activate all creatures and attack at the end of it. So they spawn up to 3 points worth of creatures, and then they move and attack. They activate all creatures, similar to that of a swarm card. So I try to keep it as, similar as possible. In the case of a downed dwarf, if a dwarf is knocked out and can't take their turn, the threat automatically goes up by 1, and the DM still takes their turn as normal. So teamwork is definitely encouraged here. Stick together, help each other out. Otherwise, the DM is going to get some extra benefits. The threat meter. Should the threat meter reach the end, like if it goes all the way to the right, the game is not over. And this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I like the rule anyway. The DM gets 6 action points per turn, and all the big creatures on the Brood Nexus board can be spawned again, one time only, with no restrictions, meaning one after the other. So even though you don't lose the game, the dwarves don't lose the game here, you're going to make their lives a living, because of that. So yeah, just to sort of show you that, I'll do 1 or 2 turns. The engineer took their turn, and now the DM gets three action points to spend. So for 1 action, they are going to spawn... Let's go back to the other page. There we go. So for 1 point, they're going to spawn 2 grunts. Same or different exits. So we'll just do 1 and 2, because why not? And then they've got 2 action points left. They're going to go ahead and spawn a web spitter, which is 2 points to spawn anything from the grunt side of the board. So they'll put that right here, I guess. What's the range on that? Again, this is just for fun. Range 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's put him back here, because why not? Yeah, he can see the engineer and reach him from there. So now that's the end of the DM's turn. He didn't advance threat, but he spawned some extra grunts and a web spitter, but nothing else. So now the scout is going to take their turn. Let's say they go 1, 2, this automatically reveals, Paka Bloom 3, great. And as a free action, they're going to, because the scout has that free attack after moving thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's got line of sight, and he's got range 6. So he's going to use his regular attack to shoot at that web spitter. He gets to roll 1 blue die. I rolled 2 by accident. We'll just take that first one. 1 damage. So the web spitter takes 1 damage, and the web spitter has, what, 2 health? Yeah. So it's not dead, but it's injured. So the scout is going to go again. He's got 2 more actions to spend. He's curious about that token, but also wants to get down here. Yeah. I'm thinking, let's go 1, 2, 3 and see what this is. It's an Apaka Bloom, but he's going to stay there and not shoot at that lowly grunt. And for his third action, he's going to take the pickaxe action to try and get to this Morkite here. And he got a blank, so it didn't work. So now the AI player, the DM, is going to go. So the DM, again, has 3 action points to spend. What he could do is... he's got this, he could spend all 3 action points to activate all creatures, move and attack all creatures. So he could spend all 3 of his action points to move everything and just attack and not spawn anything. So maybe he does that. He goes 1, 2, 3, grunts move, 1, 2, and this one moves 1, 2, and they're all going to attack. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do this really loosey-goosey really quick. This is for the engineer. He takes, 2 damage. That's pretty nasty. And the scout will take 1 damage. Wow, the DM is rolling really well. And now the web spitter is going to take his shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's within range. The web spitter gets what? 1 die or 2 dice? That's 2 dice. Wow. Didn't think about that. All right, well. Oh man, the engineer's getting wrecked. This did not happen in my playthrough originally. But yeah, so the DM spent all of his actions just activating all creatures. So now the regular players, it's the engineer's turn. He's got some thinking to do. Is he going to run down here? Maybe put some platforms down and run down. Obviously, this is like worst case scenario. I've never seen a beating that bad early on in my play tests, but it could happen. But I guess that kind of drives home the fact that as a DM, you have the ability to make sure that players are having a good time. What you could do is give players those rewards from the other page I was talking about and not get a reward. So let's say, you know what, you guys are having a really tough time. Here's a free nitro or gold. And then you can spend that any way you want. And that would give this guy 3, that would give the party 3 of like a resource to call in a supply pod. They could totally do that. But yeah, the engineer is going to go, he's going to take his turn. And what I found is it's interesting, the action point system, because the DM has some choices to make. Do they spend their action points to advance threat? And then that advancing threat a lot will limit how many creatures enter the board, giving players free reign throughout the game. Whereas if they ignore the threat and just spawn like the little guys and get lucky, as you see, it's like Zerg Rush. You know, you could get lucky and do some serious damage, but if it doesn't work out, your threat is very low, and you didn't make it past the first way marker yet, the first spawn here, to actually, like, you know, get access to the really cool things, the Praetorians and so on. So you could, you know, as one strategy as the DM, ignore threat and just spawn the little guys consistently throughout, and advance this every now and again. Or you could advance threat and try and reach these milestones as quickly as possible to spawn the big stuff, if you want to. Let's just pretend that the game has progressed, and let's just say those are out. And let's say that the, I'm just gonna move, let's say that they were destroyed, whatever. Okay, so let's just say that it is the, let's say that these were mined out, whatever. Okay, so I want to sort of simulate the whole swarm thing now. So let's say it is the DM's turn. He's got 3 action points. He's going to spawn some grunts, I guess. So he's going to spawn one there for 1 action, and yeah, so for 1 action point, he spawned 2 grunts. And now he's going to advance the threat, which then reaches the first waypoint marker here. So his turn immediately ends, but now he enters the swarm phase. He gets another free immediate turn. And on that turn, he has 3 action points to spawn new creatures, and then all creatures can activate. So he gets 3 points. So let's say he spawns, oh, I don't know. Let's say he spawns an exploder that's worth 2 points, and another grunt, which is worth 1 point. And now all creatures move and activate. Well, it's really the same thing. Move and attack. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, I'm just pretending. 1, 2, 3, and so on. 1, 2, 3. And they attack. So you could see the results that the engineer would probably not have a good day with that. But that's what typically would happen during the DM activation side of it. Again, after the first wave is over, the DM will now have the ability to start spawning the stuff from this side of the board. By the way, the goo from above stuff is all 2 points as well. So the Menace and the Goo Bomber is also 2 points worth of creatures. So yeah, that's just a quick, really dirty look at the attempted DM mode that I've created. Based on what I've played, I mean, the players had an okay time. And I mean, this playthrough was really brutal for them, at least in the very beginning here. But then again, they really didn't like shoot a whole lot either. So I think it's really like combat heavy. The players need to stay on top of killing things so that the DM player doesn't get to use them freely, because they've got more free choice. But yeah, but again, keep this in mind. This is a guideline, nothing more. I even put this at the end of the document. A good DM adjusts things on the fly to ensure that players are having a good time. Do not be afraid to be nicer or harder as needed to fit your group's needs. As a DM, you can award good things without the reward. To give your group an easier time, be flexible. Also, don't be hung up on the rules, just have fun. And of course, feedback is welcome on my Discord channel. If I find that the DM is consistently killing people too much, then maybe I'll have to relook at how many action points they get per turn or something like that. But anyway, that's a quick and dirty look at my DM rule set. I will put a link to my PDF in the below description, as well as the tabletop official mod, so that you can try it out for yourself if you so choose to. Let me know how it goes. This is Vince. Thanks for watching. Catch y'all next time. Take care.